Alright, let's talk about this whole back tension thing. You hear it talked about a lot. I remember I did before I really knew what it was. Oh, I shoot with back tension. I shoot a back tension, this and that. And by the way, I advocate for back tension. I also advocate for demystifying it, and I will do so now. Back tension refers to the act of drawing the bow by consciously integrating and using the back muscles like the lower rhomboid and lower trapezius, and if I'm missing any I'll list it, and a little bit of your lat as well to draw the bow instead of your shoulder muscles, your arm muscles, and any of your chest muscles. So that's what back tension means. We'll kind of go a level deeper. If you do not learn and make conscious effort to integrate back tension into your shot, you will most likely be drawing the bow with what we call shoulder pulling. The string can follow a very similar path of being drawn, but again, it's very interesting, depending on the deliberate effort or not to activate these muscles back here, these ones that you see moving. You'll see, watch now, it doesn't move. You can make this same path of travel with your hand, but turn on those back muscles or not. And so most folks, most of us, I know that I shot without back tension for a long time. Why shoot with back tension? Well, it's gonna help you in the long run. It's gonna allow you to shoot your bow a lot longer. One of the most common injuries we see in archery is shoulder-related injuries, people blowing their shoulders out. And shooting with back tension will not prevent that, but it'll go a long way to prevent that. Again, because it's integrating these much bigger and more sturdy back muscles to draw the bow than these kind of smaller shoulder muscles. And that's one of the reasons that USA Archery also tells us why it's so important, is because one of their main concerns is athlete health and longevity, which is one of the main reasons I get behind their program. Is I don't want a system of shooting the bow and arrow that's gonna get the arrow there every single time if I can only do it for 5 or 10 years, or if I'm gonna be in insane pain drawing the bow after a few years. I want something that's going to protect my body, and so this method of drawing the bow using your back muscles absolutely does that. So that's one good reason to do it. Another good reason to do it is it's integrating a much bigger muscle group, and so when you are at full draw, when you are under full mental and physical tension, you don't have to try so hard, and so that can allow you to focus on what you need to do, putting a good aim on the target and getting that release to go off cleanly. Using back tension, that will also help us get into alignment. Using back tension will also help us determine our anchor point, because there's a certain point at which we cannot move our shoulder girdle and our scapula anymore, and that determines an end of range of motion back there. And so with back tension we can also get to a really good alignment where you can see just kind of a nice straight line there, and we're getting what we say getting inside the string. So that it's also a lot easier to draw the compound bow and the trad bow, especially once you learn how to do this. Compound guys get away with this all day and night drawing the bow with their shoulder muscles, because a lot of men have substantial upper body strength, whether or not they're physical or active in their daily life or not, and the ones that are get away with it even more. You know, the great majority of shooters that I see on the line, traditional but particularly compound, they are not shooting with their back muscles. You can just watch, and I'll tell you in a minute how I know just by watching them whether or not they're shooting with their back muscles. One of them, of course, is watching if you see their scapula moving towards their spine, but the follow-through is also indicative of back tension or not. So we'll get to that in a minute. the next thing I want to talk about back tension is, well, how do I use it? How do I turn it on? How do I access this mystical, magical strength that lies within me? It's going to just be a little bit of process of integrating and kind of tuning some muscles that you don't normally use. And so the best way that I found to do it is, of course, taught by Tom Sr. And we're just going to do a very small pistoning motion with our arm. So we're going to put our arm straight out in front of us. I'm not going to stretch it out in front of me, but just kind of that nice relaxed low shoulder and this out in front of me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my arm in this direction, like my whole arm. I'm not going to bend it or anything. And so the only option I have to move this arm that way, if this is one stiff solid unit, is to move my scapula towards my spine. And I'll show you a different angle of this in a minute. In doing this, you can see I'm getting, it's not drastic, but it's about 5 inches. And you'll see how that amplifies in just a moment. So I'll show you from the back, and you should see my back muscles turning on. Let's see. And you can see what's pistoning there, or what's moving, creating the motion in the front, is this going back. And so it's going to take some time. It may be helpful to have something to push against up here, just lightly, to help turn that on, if you can't kind of piston it on your own yet. But that's it. That's all it is. That's your back muscles turning on. That is the motion that I'll show you in just a moment that translates into back tension. You really need to stay focused on driving that scapula towards your spine the entire shot, because you absolutely can, and many do, transfer between back tension and shoulder pulling within the shot. At any point during the draw, you can do it. And so you really need to make a deliberate, focused effort to move that scapula towards your spine, and that will just naturally create that pathway, that neural pathway, to activate those muscles. You might hear some traditional archers say squeeze your spine together, or squeeze your scapula together towards your spine. I don't want you to do that, because if you squeeze your front scapula towards your spine, you're going to create too much expansion and kind of open up this a little bit too much, and you'll compromise this nice steady shooting platform that we built in the shot sequence video down here. And so instead, I would like you to just push this hand towards the target. You don't really need to think about the scapula on the side. Do think about that shoulder staying nice and calm and quiet and low, but you don't need to think about squeezing it together to get those back muscles, because the back muscle that you're really engaging is asymmetrical, is just on the side that is drawing the bow. So when does this start? So when does this focus on back tension start? It starts all the way down here when we're in our set position. Like right here, I'm putting my arm is away from my body, not tucked up, it's out here, and I'm putting just a little bit of what we call coil into my shot, just putting the slightest bit of tension on my brace so that the brace height is lifted. You know, if I have brace height 8 inches, I'm flexing the string like just a ½ inch. Just got that steady kind of, I could go into a shot anytime. And down here, my back muscle, I can feel it turning on back there. And when I come up here, we haven't drawn yet, this is really where I'm turning on the back muscle and staying within it. And so let's just go back a step about that pistoning motion and how that translates into this. So we've practiced this a little bit. This helps you piston back. We turn our hand like this, and you can start to see that as this pistons back, it actually creates a bit of like a rotational motion in what we call your shoulder girdle, and that creates the draw length. And so what that looks like from the front, when I'm using back tension, I'm just driving that scapula towards my spine. And when I get to my anchor point, that scapula is just locked in and it's end of range of motion towards my spine. And so bam, that's locked in, my front arm is locked in, and there's my end of range of motion, there's my anchor depth, my draw length is set by that. So everyone has, theoretically, one draw length, one anchor depth point. I say anchor depth point because you might have a high anchor for hunting applications, so you're getting that arrow right up here. You might have a low anchor if you're doing something like Olympic archery, but again, the anchor depth is going to be the same, or your body alignment's going to be the same, because you've got there by this being maxed out up here in end of range of motion, and your scapula maxed out at an end of range of motion, pushing towards your spine. So once you get to full draw, I mean, that's that sweet spot. You've got that full scapular engagement, you've gotten to alignment, which I'll talk about more in just a moment, and that should be a place of, well, USA Archery calls it like a place of zen. They say that it's a calm place, it's a place of relaxation, of kind of mindfulness in the shot, of kind of yeah, just that relaxation, because once you've gone through this whole motion, you've engaged both the alignment of your muscles as well as the power of your back muscles. And so that's called the holding position, or full draw, and you should be able to sit in there for a minute, because you are utilizing everything your body has to offer to resist that bow wanting to do what it does, is go back to where it was before you drew it. So you're at full draw, let's finish our shot. So you're at full draw, you've got your back muscles all the way engaged, you've got that nice anchor point, you set your aim, and all you need to do now is continue to drive that little bit of back tension more that you can back behind you. So you've reached a full stop here, and what I like to say is I hear Tom Sr. in my head saying, yep, I like it, and I hear that after I put a good aim on the target, and that allows me to move my mental process to finishing the shot. So my mind, when I say, yep, I like it, my mind moves from here and goes back here to finish the shot. So we come up, put a good aim on the target, yep, I like it, and I just drive that expansion, I drive the tip of my elbow right down the shooting line behind me. And so that brings us right into me saying, oh, I know a lot of folks aren't shooting with back tension, they're not shooting with, they're shooting by shoulder pulling. Well, the way that your elbow moves after you finish a shot tells me which way your direction of tension was. And so if you're, oh, sorry about that. If you're shoulder pulling and you're pulling the string straight back, then when you finish your shot, naturally, your shot's going to go straight back. This will also create what we call a pluck, because you're pulling straight back, and instead of the tension being like pulling with your scapula that way, you're pulling straight back, and as the string kind of just, well, plucks out of your hand's going to go this way instead of that way, because you're pulling in this direction. And again, that's not generally conducive to an accurate shot, even if you put a nice aim on the target. And so when you're shoulder pulling, I know, because you come up here, and then when you finish your shot, you go like this. And you can kind of see my shoulder kind of continues down like that, like behind me, or to my side here. And when you finish a shot with back tension, your hand will naturally finish somewhat over your shoulder. Tom often talks about kind of grabbing that pretend golf ball and a tee on your shoulder to help you continue in the correct direction of tension with your hand and your shoulder, and your back muscles. And your elbow will make a slashing motion instead of going straight back, because it's continuing and finishing the end of that rotation after your hold on the string is done. So I'm just going to do a few shots. The first ones will all be with shoulder pulling, and then the other ones will all be with back tension. I'm not saying that I'm some kind of back tension deity, if you will, but I have put a serious amount of work into back tension, and so if my shoulder shots or my back tension or my shoulder shots don't look very good, it's because I've done everything I can to not shoulder pull on the bow. I don't have a shot with a shoulder pull, so I haven't developed one ever, so if I shoulder pull, it's a bad shot. So like my shot is a back tension shot. So this is shoulder pulling. Again, the string's going to follow the same path, and then I'll just finish the shot. And again, I hope I didn't finish too much over my shoulder, but I'm pulling, and that's kind of like a bit of a pluck. I'll turn this way, and I'm getting to, you know, a decent alignment, or I'm trying to, but I'm pulling straight back. And again, it's not going to be conducive to accuracy. It's not going to be super repeatable. It's not engaging your big muscle groups. So pluck could be like that, something like that. You know, it's really exaggerated, but pluck it like that. There you go. That was a good pluck. And so those are some shoulder pulling shots. And this is going to be a back tension shot. So string pretty much follows the same path, but the difference is I'm directing that tension very consciously. I've already been directing this entire shot as I'm talking to you. And this elbow is going to go straight down the shooting line towards the bush behind me. I'm just going to drive it there, and my hand will just pretty well release when I tell it that, okay, yep, I like that shot, I'm going to drive that tension now. And it's just really a natural place to finish. I don't have to think anymore about my hand finishing there. Again, it's just more an indicator or a symptom, if you will, of what type of shot you had. So do another back tension shot. It's really nice with the stretch band. You can really feel that clean release of it just snapping in your hand or your arm, continuing that direction of tension. Good back tension shot. So back tension versus shoulder pulling, again, you can convert between them by just failing to think about and focus driving with your back muscles. But I should also add, back tension may not be essential for your shot. If you're shooting a lighter bow, if you're shooting a compound bow, and maybe it's just not clicking for you, it's not the end of the world. You know, you can shoot ridiculously accurately and for a long time without back tension. I just really wanted to speak to it a little bit, demystify it a little bit, and talk a little bit about how it integrates into our hunting shot. And I also said that I was going to talk about alignment. Alignment has to do with skeletal alignment. And if I'm out here, this elbow out here, that's not alignment. If it's back here, that's not alignment. What it's referring to is a straight line or alignment from my front wrist through my shoulder, my front shoulder through my back shoulder, and so that when we get here, our skeletal structure is resisting the bow doing what it wants to do, is just go back to its relaxed form. And so something you can do that Tom has taught me to do to really sell this system, something Tom has taught me to do to really kind of show the value of the system in real time is something he likes to call the squeeze test. So once we get a student to good alignment, and that's something we can do with or without a stretch band, you know, oftentimes it's way easier to do without a stretch band. We'll just kind of go, okay, you know what, this elbow needs to go here, drop your shoulder a little bit, swing it back just a little without moving your hand. Okay, this hand's straight out in front of you, just like you're stopping your angry 3-year-old, and there we go. Okay, we got you in good alignment. And then what we do is, of course, we go, hey, I'm gonna put my hands on your front hand and your back elbow. Is it okay if I touch you to show you how your body is braced against this resistance? And generally students say yes, but you need to ask before you put your hands on someone. I can't reiterate that enough. Not that I've made that mistake, I'm just saying as coach to coach or whoever's listening to this, you must ask before you do the squeeze test. It's very important. It shows trust and respect. So you get to this position, and what you do is you come up to your student and you put one hand here, and you put one hand here, and I'll have my lovely assistant come and help me in just a minute, and have your friend squeeze you this way. And you shouldn't have to resist or like try really hard. Their ability to compress you in should be extremely limited, because you're again reached into a skeletal alignment position where all of these muscles are bracing, or all these bones rather, and joints are bracing against each other. And so once you have them all lined up, you just don't want to squish. You don't accordion in. And what you'll see is that will occur when you're in a good alignment. So something like this, you can kind of see I'm just in this nice straight line. You can't see much of my back elbow, because I'm in a nice straight line here. This is good alignment. And then out here, might be leaving some, as Tom says, leaving some powder out of the gun. And this is out here. And so if someone tries to compress me like this, I'm just going to fold. And I can even put in, this is interesting, I can put in a whole lot of effort to resist it. But if I don't get to a good alignment, it doesn't really matter how strong I am. They'll be able to compress me super quickly. So I just love how physical that makes it, and how that kind of immediately sells the system and opens people's eyes to the value of building a good holding position, understanding and getting to a good alignment, and doing so using back tension. So I think I've shared a lot about back tension, and anything else to add? Might be another module, but we'll see you in the next one. Alright, I know it's not our most glamorous shot of the course, but this will really help to demonstrate my point about direction of tension. Recall we were just talking about how I can tell if gentlemen or ladies are pulling with their back muscles or not because of the direction of their follow through. And so if they're shoulder pulling, oh, hang on a second. Okay. If they're shoulder pulling, when they finish their shot, the direction of their follow through of the tip of their elbow will be straight behind them. And if they're using back tension, they'll be able to back up, like right up to something like this, and instead of going straight back, your direction of tension is right towards the camera, and so the elbow will slash down, the hand will finish over the shoulder. That's just the natural continuation of tension in that direction. And so the way that we do this is with this little thing called the wall test, and that's why we're at this really picturesque shot. And so if we're drawing with back tension, when I finish that shot, I'm gonna bang right into that wall. And I'm very much on purpose right next to this wall. You can see, bang, right into that wall. And so those were shoulder pulling shots. All right, now I want to show you a back tension shot. So same distance away here, but what you'll see is the elbow slashing down a little bit, and we'll miss the wall. Do that again. One more time. And from right here, we'll do another shoulder pulling shot. Do one more shoulder pulling. And we'll do back tension. So that's one of the easiest way if I'm getting a new student on the line or just checking out someone's shot. The direction of follow through is indicative of the direction of tension, and it may just be for that shot that they're finishing that way, but if you see a pattern where every single time their hands finishing kind of away from their face or out here, that'll let you know they're definitely shoulder pulling and not using back tension. And again, it's not a sin or anything, but it will definitely give you a lot of advantages. So all right, see you in the next one.